What's going on, everybody? Thanks a lot for joining me. This is the first episode of James Picking Brains. One of the most common questions that I get asked is, hey, James, can I pick your brain? So this is that moment where I turn the tables and I connect with other people out there and I pick their brains. So this is the way it goes. We're going to ask quick questions. We're going to get quick answers because this is a quick program. Small, consumable content. That's the name of the game. Welcome to the show, Mr. John Barrows, the one and only.
How you doing, James? Say what sales? How you doing, brother?
I'm fantastic, man. I'm so glad you get to be my first guest. Thanks for agreeing to do this.
Of course.
Let's get to it, man. First question. Routine is absolutely crucial for sales professionals all over the world. What's your average day look like?
Well, it's tough because I travel so much, but on an average day that I'm not traveling, get up usually around 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, grab my phone, check some emails. Usually I'm up before my daughter so that I can, get into my groove and just get away with some of the stuff. Then when she wakes up at around 6:45, I'm with her, getting her ready for school, breakfast, hanging out, trying to be present. I'll drive her to school most of the time. And then come back around 9 o'clock. And then my day's just all meetings all the time. I will say during that morning routine though, part of what I try to do from about 6:30 to 7, if you will, is I try to do that social routine that I talk about, right? It's usually kind of 6 to 7, but it depends on the late night that I had the night before. But usually 6 to 7, I'll check my news feed, see if there's any triggers that I can find, fire off a couple of emails, read a few articles, go throughout the day, meet with all clients. Usually it's back to back to back. As you know, you've seen my calendar. So there's not a lot of prep or follow-up that I have the ability to do. At the end of the day is when I do all my follow-up. So I bang out all my emails and that type of stuff. And then right before close things out, I'll usually prep for the next day, right? So I'll look at my schedule for the next day. I'll go through my checklist, all my meetings or whatever. Around 6 o'clock, I shut things down. From 6 to 9 o'clock, family, wife, daughter. 9 o'clock hits, laptop goes up, usually work till about 2 o'clock in the morning and rinse, repeat. And that's when I'm not traveling.
That's when you're not traveling. So I have seen your calendar, and that leads really well into my next question. Man, everybody talks about work-life balance. People that have calendars that look like yours really have to be diligent about separating the time. What's like your number one tip for having a comfortable work-life balance for somebody like you that's just always on the move and constantly working?
My number one tip is don't think about it as a work-life balance. I call bullshit on work-life balance. My whole theory on work-life balance is, when people talk about that, most people, the way they talk about it is work-life, right? I work and then I live. And so to me, you sleep about a third of your life. You work about a third of your life at a minimum. So what you're telling me with this whole concept of work-life balance is that you only live a third of your life. And to me, that's pretty damn sad. When you believe in what you do, it's not really work. It's an integration, and I think if you integrate work, as part of your life because of what you love to do, then it's a lot easier to figure out that quote unquote balance that everybody is searching for.
All right, next question. Every sales leader, every thought leader, every influencer, put your label on it, doesn't matter. All the buzzwords that are fantastic that we love to use, has a leadership style. What would you consider your leadership style to look like?
Easy. It's lead by example. Show you that I am up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I am sending those cadences. I am making those emails. Because, quick example on this, I used to work at Barrows, the company that first, started this whole training. And I had just sold my company to Staples, and I was big man on campus. Look at me. And now I'm just a little old trainer. I'm sitting there, I'm doing my thing, right? So and we had cold call blitzes every Friday afternoon. So from 3 to 5, we would do a cold call blitz every Friday afternoon. And I didn't want to do this, fuck, right? Like, give me a break. And so I remember I was sitting there. And we were in our little cubes and stuff like that. And we had this call blitz, and I was shooting the shit with a guy next to me. Right. And I remember my boss came in and started yelling at me, and not yelling at me. He was like, "Hey, Barrows, how many cold calls you make today?" Me being the jackass that I am, I said to him, "I don't know, dude. How many cold calls have you made today?" That arguably should have been like, "All right, kid, you're fired. Get the fuck out." Right.
I could see the shift in the room happening the moment it left your lip.
That was my point. It's like, dude, I've never seen you make a fucking cold call. Don't sit here and bark at me for making cold calls when you've never even showed me how to do this. Right. He squirmed back into his office, and he curled up, and he kind of, internalized it and fucking, almost killed me later. But a week later, call blitz Friday afternoon. I'm sitting there in my cube. His door is right there. And his door was open and his headset was on and he was going to work.
Yeah.
And when I tell you, he was good. Like he was way better than me. And I'm sitting there listening to him going, holy shit, he's good.
Yeah.
And guess what I fucking did? I grabbed my headset, I put it on, and I started making calls. And I'll tell you this right now, James, I'm going to be straight up with you. Ain't no way you're ever going to outwork me, man. Like
I can.
You're going to try. But I'm going to tell you, like, the one thing that I know I can control is how hard I work. And I have a drive that I don't know where it came from. There it is. Effort, attitude, and how you treat people, brother. It's like that effort, right? Is like, I know I can work hard, and it doesn't scare me. Working hard doesn't scare me. And so that's where, like, I was always the first one in the office. I was always the last one to leave. And that's how I get my management style.
But hey, I'm going to try as hard as I can, like hell, to work as hard as you. And if I surpass you, hey, that's just a feather in the cap.
God bless you, man. God bless you. Right.
All right. Last question, John. Everybody's got influences, mentors, people they look up to. I look at you as a mentor for me and have been for a long time. Morgan's always been somebody I learned from. I look at Gary Vee and I see that as inspiration, right? There's a lot of people out there that influence me. Who were your influences that made you the person, the professional that you are today?
By far, my parents, number 1 and 2. So my mom used to work at Wang Laboratories, which back in the day, Wang was like Salesforce is today. Like if you worked at Wang, it was like, holy shit, right? And she had a good job there. And I was a happy surprise. So I was 9 years after my sister. But my mom, she had stayed home with my sister, right, when she was born. And she felt bad that I wasn't going to have that same experience. So even though my mom worked at Wang, top job, all that other stuff, she quit. She quit Wang Laboratories, worked and stayed at home with me as a kid, and started her own consulting practice.
Wow.
And so I grew up, we lived in a little split level house. On the basement, we had our little living room, and the living room was half her office and half our living room. And I remember I would come home from school and she would have clients in there. She did career consulting and stuff. And I just thought, whatever, it's like, that's okay. That's what my mom does. Who cares?
Good job.
Right. But I didn't make the connection that was an entrepreneur. Right. And my dad, he worked at a corporate job for a while. But then he became a consultant. He consulted for the FAA. So he worked out of his house. So I had my 2 parents home, but working. And I just was part of that experience, right? That just exposed me to what hard work looked like, what it meant to be an entrepreneur, those type of things. And then fast forward, again, didn't make the connection, got into corporate, didn't like it. Then got that itch to go off and do my thing. And that's really where that influence came from. My dad's more of a fuck you. Like, I'm like, eat shit. I'm going to fight the establishment. My mom is, hey, let's figure this out. Let's work together.
Let's all get along, right?
Right. And so those 2 pieces, I have that analytical mindset with the artistic flexibility. And I think it all comes from my parents. Now, if you want to identify other people, obviously Gary Vee. I emulate anybody who I think is successful for the right reasons, and people probably hate it, but Tom Brady, and a new genuine appreciation for Kobe Bryant with what's going on. And now that I've researched him, I look back at his drive and the man he became, and there's a lot to pull from that. My main mentor, I'd say from a business standpoint, is Jeff Hoffman, the guy who created Basho. And the reason is he's 7 years older than me, and he's been there, done that. So he's a couple of steps ahead of where I am always, right? Because he's just older and he did it, right? So every time I have a question about business or what's going on with what we're doing here, I grab him. I'm like, he's coming over the house next week. I'm picking his brain about where he was at this point in his career, what mistakes he made, and those type of things. And I learned a lot from him. Last point I'll make on mentors is I really encourage people who are thinking about mentorship out there or trying to find a mentor, be very careful. Don't lock yourself in. Don't look for a mentor. All right. That's a dangerous place to be because you could make the wrong decision and that person might not be able to give you the diverse perspective that you need.
Yeah, I would agree. I think too many people are looking for tell me what to do and not, hey, can you guide me to the right answer here? And I think that's the hallmark of a good mentor is that they're not going to tell you what to do. Instead, they're going to explain something to you, change your perspective, and you're going to find that answer on your own. So John, I want to thank you for coming on the show. This has been fantastic. If you're out there and you need to be picked, you want that brain, you got something to say, this is the show for you. Come on, explain yourself. Tell us what your life is like. Tell us what you think professionally. I get asked all the time, can I pick your brains? I know you guys probably out there get asked all the time, can I pick your brain? This is the show for brain picking. Thank you so much again for coming on the show. DM me anywhere, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, doesn't matter. If you want to be on the show, I want to hear from you. Hashtag say what sales. If you're a salesperson, we're the same person.